This is a piece of linen that has been waxed randomly, which is where the white is. Then it was coated with a golden dye and frozen. Then I just wadded it up into a big little ball, tight little ball, and it crackled. You can see where the dye is going in. There are places receiving this purplish dye that are making lines and crackles. So the dye is on this sponge brush, and I'm just rubbing it in. You can see what happens. A lot of dye, but you kind of need a lot. Now, these tutorials are available and will continue to be coming. If you have any questions, please email me. Go to the blog, www.gettwistedfiberarts.com, and send me an email. Let's see, where are we? Okay. So we've pretty much got this bottom section done. I want to add a little bit of the dye to the golden, but I don't want to cover it completely. Here's the dye in the container. Now, yeah, there's wax getting in it. Don't worry about it. Just keep going with the flow. To get the to get the wax off of the fiber or fabric, whichever you prefer, you're going to need lots of newspaper or newsprint and an iron that you don't care about too much, sort of a craft iron. Let's see this. Okay, I'm going to pull it down so I can work on the rest of it. It's good to have a table that you don't really care if things get on it. I personally like things to get on it. Sorry about that. So these are fence boards from a house I used to be living in that someday I'll probably go back to and live in. At least for a while. Which is a place in Bishop, California. High desert, cowboys and Indians. I can't stress enough to you how important it is that you withhold judgment about whether or not you like your piece until it's completed. Okay, I want to show you a section here. See this? It doesn't have much crackle in it. That's dye that's on it. Let me see if I can wipe some of that off. Hang on, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm going to try to wipe some of this off of here. And as you see, none of the dye has gone in like it has right here. The dye has gone into the fabric in different places. See, that's all gone in. Wherever the wax is white, it has not gone in. So what I'm going to do with that is wad it up and crackle it and see if I can get some dye in there. Okay, now if you can look closely, you can see that it's been crackled a bit more. So let's get some dye and put it on that spot. See if you can't rub some in there. Ah, yes. Let's see what happens. Look at that. Dye went in. Happy girl. Let's try here. Oh, yeah. Dye's going in. See those little crackle spots? Dye's going in. So that's how I want it. Get that out of the way. This is giving you a sense of what this piece will look like once the wax is ironed out and the dye has set in. More dye. So this dye has soda ash and urea in it because the fabric, some pieces have been soaked in soda ash and some haven't, and I've kind of lost track. So I put the chemicals that will help fix the dye right in the dye. Now that will make the dye not store as long, but I kind of use it up anyway. Let's see if this piece here has enough crackle in it. I think so. Let's see what happens. This is crackling it. Let's see if any more will go in. I think it should. Yeah, okay. There may be some areas that you want to leave more white than crackle. As you can see down here. Wax, you can handle wax pretty roughly. So, up top here I have lots of crackle, right? Lots. Down here is not so much, so I'm going to leave that because there may be another technique of surface design that I would like. Okay, let me show you my ironing setup. See the papers? That's newsprint on the ironing board, and see the iron? Oh my goodness. This is my craft iron. I use it for discharge paste and for wax. Okay, so I have a stack of fresh newsprint right there where I can reach across and get it. So now I have my piece of fabric on the paper on the ironing board. Now there's about 3 sheets of paper here. Let me see if I can get the light right. 1, 2, yeah, 3. Pretty even on the edge so that I know how many thicknesses are there to absorb wax that melts by the iron. So I'm going to take this iron, yep, that's the one, and I'm going to first put a single sheet of newsprint so it matches the others, basically. And then I'm going to take my iron, hold it on the paper. You got to be somewhat careful because you don't want to start a fire, but look at that. See that wax is already coming off. And by the distribution of wax, you can tell exactly where the end of your fabric is. You should end up doing this maybe 5 or 6 times before the wax has decided to release all it's going to release. Look at the difference in this paper. I'm going to try to get close. Okay, there's just a few bits of wax really coming up. Just a few. Compared to down here, where it's solid wax getting released. See this? Let's see if I can give you a full shot. Oh, almost lost the whole thing. There we go. Okay, here's the finished de-waxed piece of fabric. Now you'll notice that the hand of the fabric, once you've finished ironing, is kind of stiff because there is some wax that went into the fibers. But your papers, when you finish waxing, will be almost free of wax, kind of like that. So here's a final on the 3 pieces of fabric that I batikked. The one on the right, this brown one, was waxed, and then I used a golden dye on it. The second one we did was this black one. Different outcomes, look at that. Now the black one had a very thick coating of wax, and the brown one had a rather thin coating. Let's look at this. The next one we did was this one that we just looked at, but let's look at the whole piece. Now remember, these were all linen. This final piece I did with both the golden dye and the, what's it called, brush steel. It has a combination of thick wax and thin wax. The thicker wax is where it's more white, and the thinner wax is where it crackled more. Let me lift this up. Look at this. You could use this paper in some form of cards or other paper art. It is lovely. Look at that. It looks like fabric itself, but it's paper. Art from the waste of batik. Lovely.